and welcome to part 2 of Roses and Thorns. It is an absolute blessing and pleasure to be joining you today, so thank you so much for being here with me. Please do trust that whenever you have found yourself here, there are likely to be messages within the contents of this video for you. I would encourage you to use your discernment, take only what resonates with you and leave the rest for someone else. Please do not make anything your story that isn't. You do not have to watch part 1 to receive messages here, but if you would like to know what led to us being here, or if anything does actually resonate within this video for you, you may want to check out that one as well. It will be linked in the notes below for you. As I was preparing to come and sit down with you, I actually had a lot of messages coming through via the cards as I was shuffling, and the 2 that you see on the table are actually ones that kind of flew out. And so I want to share some messages about that. And then I had a couple of others that showed themselves to me as well. So to start off here, we have 2 cards from the Gateway of Light activation deck. And what really struck me with these 2 cards straight away, as soon as I laid eyes on them, was the fact that they're both initiation cards, which of course was mentioned quite a bit in part 1. And so that really did bring some confirmation through. Let's start here with Shambhala initiations, retreating to recharge, trusting the process, and Dharma. Now, what I find to be really fascinating about this is that at present, as we spoke of in part 1, you may be in this space where it feels like you're in between worlds, in between a death and a rebirth, right? In the midst of transformation. And Dharma, of course, is the unfolding of one's life path. It's kind of like, your life purpose and what you're meant to be doing, and actually walking that. With Shambhala initiations, one of the things that is mentioned in the guidebook is that there's this master awakening within. And I feel like this is where you are. That's not to say that we're speaking of a master here in the sense of like Master Jesus or Master Saint Germain or, things like this, but rather that what's awakening within you is this ability to master yourself. I do feel like there is an aspect of this where there could be influences from some of these master beings, some of the beings that are associated with Shambhala. Perhaps you want to do more research on that, but it feels very much like learning how to master and navigate the discomfort of the unknown, learning how to master and navigate the discomfort of being in this in-between space and not really knowing what's what yet, not really having your bearings quite yet, and really needing to trust that inner compass, really needing to trust your intuition, right? So again, mastering yourself. And it feels a bit of, it feels like a bit of, a test, if you will, or again, like an initiation. You've learned so much already, and now you're in this uncomfortable space. How are you going to navigate it? How are you going to move through it? Then we have here the Halls of Amenti initiation, secrets revealed, treasures uncovered, initiations. With this card, one of the biggest confirmations that I got was obviously the initiations, but also the fact that we have these 2 pillars here on the card, the black pillar and the white pillar. The black pillar represents the physical world. The white pillar represents the spiritual world. So it is this energy of being in between worlds, or, kind of being in the between, if you will. The other thing I want to point out with this is there may be connections to Atlantis or Egypt or both. What's very interesting about what's going on presently is that there are many currently incarnated who were incarnated during Atlantis as well. So that could be very significant, right? Some of the things that you may be coming face to face with, some of the challenges you may be facing, could have something to do with bringing that full circle. So for example, the rise in technology, Atlantis falling because of the abuse of that, could absolutely be something that you are challenged with in this lifetime. Not being kind of consumed by it, not allowing it to rule over your life, right? Not abusing technology, or not becoming seduced by technology, right? So it's not about being a Luddite. It's not about, being anti-technology and running from it, but rather about being very conscious in how you use it. Again, not being seduced by it. So that could be very significant. There could be some past life things going on there, and maybe you want to explore that. Another thing I got with this card, of course, is essentially going through the initiation, right? The old being released in order to step into the new. And, here's the thing. In part 1, I displayed on the screen the transits of Saturn moving into Aries more recently, retrograding back into Pisces later on, and then moving or settling into Aries once again. And this is where I kind of feel that going through the initiation process, the old being released so that the new can come in, and kind of feeling like you're in between worlds, right? Because Saturn hasn't settled into Aries just yet. It's there, okay? It's absolutely there, but it will retrograde back into Pisces. I feel like we're getting a taste of the new. This kind of feels like one of those. Oh my Lord, I love it how these things come in. Because it kind of feels like one of those like trial periods that you get on like a streaming service or something. That's how it just comes across as like, Saturn moving into Aries, like you're getting this trial run. It's almost dipping your toe in the pool and then pulling it back out again and then deciding to take the plunge type of thing, right? It's giving us this test run and then retrograding back into Pisces, where we have this ability to wrap things up. We have this ability to truly close the book on that karmic cycle and then plunge into the next one, right? And then dive in, because Aries is that action. It is that initiating force, okay? So fascinating with these two cards coming out even before we're here in the thick of it. So I'm loving this already. I'm loving the confirmation that's already come through. The other thing I want to share with you is that as I was shuffling the tarot, I split the deck, and on one side there was Aries and on the other was Leo, or the Emperor and the Sun. And again, it comes right back to what we talked about in part 1, of course, Saturn being in Aries, and then talking about Leo energy and gold, the Sun, right? Really just rolling things into one another. And I love that so much. So of course, the Emperor showing up is the divine masculine, and it is that authority, that power. It is taking action, and it really does feel, because the Emperor is also a card of leadership, it really does feel like this stewardship of what you've learned, being a good steward of it, right? Because there can be this very fine line with the Emperor where the emperor knows when to, let's say, celebrate or mourn. The emperor knows when to take action and when to stand still. But there can be this very fine line where the emperor can be tyrannical, where the emperor can let that power go to his head, right? So it does feel like moving into this space of stewardship. What have you learned through this process, right? As Saturn has moved from Aries to Pisces over the past, 28-ish, 29-ish years or so, what have you gained? What have you learned? What wisdom have you acquired? And are you going to use that for the good of all? Or are you just going to use it for the good of yourself, right? And I feel like that's really significant with this, because it's, again, about being a good steward of what you have learned, what you've gained. In addition to that, the Emperor showing up really brought through this energy as well of sovereignty over your own reality and being a leader of your own evolution. And I feel like that's really significant moving forward, especially with what I mentioned about being careful about being seduced by technology, because there are a lot of people running around here who think that they are in the driver's seat, and what's really in the driver's seat is their phone. Okay? I'm not saying that we should be Luddites and we should just not have phones. I just think it's very interesting how that energy is showing up. Not only that, but in social media especially, everyone has the answer. Everyone is an expert. Everyone is handing out advice like frickin' Skittles on Halloween. And this is another thing that I feel we are going to have to face, we're going to have to overcome, is being sovereign over our own being and trusting our own inner compass, trusting ourselves to lead our own evolution versus handing that power over to a guru, to someone online, to some comment that we read, some post that we read. It can be very easy to get wrapped up in, well, this person said this is the way, this person said this is the way, this person said this is the way, this person said this is true, this person said this is true, this, and taking that and running with it. It really is about being that leader over your own evolution. It really is about being your own guru. So it does feel like the Emperor has shown up not only to confirm that Aryan energy, but also to nudge us to say, hey, be mindful of this. The angelic hierarchy isn't going to force us to do anything, but I do feel like it's that nudge. It's that, hey, you might want to be careful. Hey, this may not be the best idea. We don't want to repeat the same mistakes that we had in a different incarnation and then have to deal with it again, right? It's like, let's not destroy civilization because we are allowing ourselves to be seduced by technology, right? So, and that's just one facet, of course, but just something to be mindful of, right? Or because we give all of our power away to other beings, other people. Let's not do that. We are meant to be individuals. Okay? This is where we are in our evolution as human beings. We are meant to be individuals. We're meant to be individuating. We're meant to be moving out of that tribalism, moving out of that groupthink, and really stepping forward as sovereign beings. So it's important that we're mindful of this moving forward. And then, of course, we did have the sun showing up as well, which again was just confirmation of that Leo energy of gold, and furthermore of this energy of joyful celebration, of achievement and success, as was mentioned in part one, having done good work. And having this reward, you know, in sight, earning that reward more specifically, right? So in the major arcana, the sun is near the end, right? And so there's this completion on the horizon. And again, it just brings me back to what I was just talking about with, you know, Saturn moving into Aries for a period, retrograding back into Pisces, and then moving back into Aries. And just knowing that the completion of that karmic cycle is on the horizon. It is within sight. It is, you know, we're right there. So I love that. And I also feel as though the sun brings forward this energy of clarity. And again, as we move forward and as Saturn settles more comfortably, let's say, into Aries, I do feel like things are going to become more and more clear. Being in this in-between stage may feel like we're in a bit of a haze, you know, and as things kind of get settled, I feel like it's going to be stepping out of the fog. And the other part of that is being able to look back and see how far we've come, how much has changed over the past, you know, 29 years or so. For someone like me, this cycle began when I was a young kid. So that's not to say you're going to remember everything, right? But I do feel as though you're going to be able to look back and realize, holy crap, I've actually grown tremendously throughout this time. I had a couple of cards actually pop out of the Goddess Power Oracle as well. And the message that came through with those cards was nurturing your potential through transformation, and the number 11. Ones do represent new beginnings, potential, and I think it's really interesting that it would show up in this way. And I also feel like it's letting us know, or nudging, you know, to say it's not about just sitting in this haze. That's not to say that you're forcing anything, because I don't feel like that's appropriate either. But I do feel like it's about nurturing what's rising within you, right? I feel like as this clarity comes in, as things start to move a little bit, it's like grabbing a hold of that and moving with it, right? Of course, as I was saying earlier, that Aries or Emperor energy is about taking action, about having this authority and moving with it. The divine masculine is very much that way as well, right? Knowing when to move and when not to move, or knowing when to plant and when to harvest type of energy, right? But listening to that feminine within, okay? Trusting it as well. So again, right, it's nurturing your potential through transformation. So it's not about getting lost in that haze. It's not about getting lost in that in-between space. It's not about letting the discomfort, the unsteadiness take hold, right? It's about understanding where you are, knowing that something new is rising up, listening to that, and trusting when it's time to take action. Okay? So again, loving this, but let's really dive in now. Let's see what the cards really want to bring forward. I'm so excited to see. So let's get into it. I'm going to put these into the deck. And let's get started. Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, what messages would like to come through, please? The energy does feel a bit scattered, you may be feeling like this as well. That could be confirmation for you. There, now that I've said something, it's it's kind of smoothed out a little bit. You may be feeling very indecisive. Thank you. Yeah, you may be feeling very very indecisive at present. You've got to be kidding me. The bottom of the sun. The bottom of the deck is the sun, joy, enjoyment, life force, success, vitality, and play. Cannot make this up. I've also just seen 111 as well. So, I mean, just saying, right? I do feel like that's a big nod to that nurturing potential through transformation, right? Really utilizing your life force, your will. I also feel like it's a nod to the success that comes, right? Or the success that's on the horizon, that reward. I also feel like it's about enjoying where you are. Okay. And this may be something that you're struggling with at current, right? Being in that haze, it can be difficult to see the sun. And so it feels like a reminder, even when the sky is hazy, even when it's cloudy, the sun is still there on the other side. It's not lost. It's not gone. So I feel as though it could be this nudge for you to enjoy where you are, right? Knowing that all is not lost simply because things are a bit unclear, right? What a beautiful way to start. Okay, so we also have here the rose garden, innocence, forgiveness, be gentle with yourself. Absolutely. I feel like that's a big one, being gentle with yourself, right? Because going through such massive transformation in what is ultimately a short period of time, as we talked about in part 1, we can be very critical of ourselves, right? Especially when things aren't moving, or things don't seem to be moving as quickly as we would like them to be, when things aren't showing up in the physical, or we aren't able to clearly see how far we've come, when we just kind of feel like we're wandering, right? When we feel a bit aimless, right, in that in-between space, we can be so hard on ourselves. And so I feel like this is a time to be very gentle with yourself. I also feel as though there's this energy of not being out of the weeds yet, because, you know, we'll retrograde back into Pisces. Even if you don't want to look at it from the transit of the planet, you can look at it as kind of a spiral, right? Moving away from that thing and then finding yourself coming back around to it to see how you navigate it, right? To see what you've learned. Are you ready to move beyond that now? And if for some reason you find yourself slipping up, you find yourself, you know, kind of, we'll say, retrograding back with it, this is a learning process. And the way you learn is by making mistakes, by slipping up, by falling off the wagon, right? Type of thing. So be gentle with yourself. Forgive yourself. Not only if you slip up, not only if you maybe lose your way for a little bit, you take a detour, but more importantly, as you start to recognize what it is you've actually overcome, what it is you've actually endured, what it is you've actually been through and survived, forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know when you didn't know it, and all you were trying to do was survive. Okay? Ooh, I felt that. That could have just triggered something within you. You may have gotten emotional just now, or got a little choked up just now. because it does feel like you could be someone who has experienced things and found yourself back in the cycle and have kicked yourself. I feel like that really relates to what we spoke about in part 1, where it's having this heart of gold, right? Remaining inwardly upright, even though things around you are attempting to sway you away from that, right? Keeping that heart of gold. So forgive yourself and forgive others. I feel like this was said in, oh my gosh, what is it? I think it's 1883. If I remember correctly, Tim McGraw's character as James Dutton, I think it is. But he says something along the lines to his daughter, Elsa. Something like, hating someone else is one of the worst things you can do to yourself, or something like that. And I feel like that's coming through here. I feel as though you're being asked to forgive what you've been through over the past, 29-ish years or so, and allow yourself to put down that burden, to put down the burden of disdain or anger or hatred towards what it is you experienced, knowing at the very least that it taught you something. I'm not saying it was fun. I'm not saying you deserved it. I'm not saying that makes it okay. I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to invalidate your experiences or what you feel about them. Okay, it's not going to erase what you experienced. But I do feel like there's this message coming through of, it's okay to put it down. You don't have to carry it anymore. You know better now. Because it feels like there could be this fear of, I don't want to find myself in that again. And if I keep it fresh in my memory, I'm not going to be hurt in that same way again. And what I feel wants to come through here is to let you know that it's okay to put it down, because you've gained the wisdom that you can from it. And you know different now. You're not the same person that you were when you went through those things. Okay? Wow. I also love that this is the rose garden. It's not just one thing. I feel like what you've been through has been the transformation of many things within yourself, many things in your experience, many things in your life. And you could be finding that as one book is closed and another opens, that there's this, almost, the word I'm getting actually is this plethora of newness, this plethora of potential. We also have here codes of the seeds. The blueprint is within you. Take the next step. Isn't that interesting? That we talk about, this plethora of newness. Because this is what it feels like at present. Maybe you want to use the picture of, being in the hallway where one door has closed and another has not yet opened. Or maybe you want to use the visual of the seed that is not yet sprung forth. And it may be feeling like you're in the dark. It may be feeling like being lost in that haze, as I've said. But in reality, you already know what to do. As it says here, the blueprint is within you. Just like no one tells the seed how to grow. No one tells the seed when to sprout and when to produce fruit, right? No one tells it. No one has to tell it when or why or how. It simply does because the blueprint is there. Very much like with you. The blueprint is within you. You don't need me or anyone else to tell you how or when or why. It's simply about listening to yourself and taking action when you feel it's appropriate. Discerning when it's appropriate. You know, because sometimes we can sit and we can believe that our intuition is telling us to sit still when truly it's our fear, right? So again, being able to discern. But it, more than anything, is just trusting ourselves, not listening to the opinions of others. Okay, opinions are not facts. Societal rules are not universal or cosmic law. That blueprint is within you. And we have here for you the second bloom, a second chance. It's never too late, new possibilities. So again, this energy of being reborn, this energy of rising again, of transformation. You may be someone who thought your ship had sailed, right? You may have been someone who thought, it's never going to happen. It's too late for me. How can I start over now? And this is showing up to tell you it's never too late. That's an illusion, especially when you're looking at it from a very earthly, very man-made, materialistic perspective. Right? The man-made laws, if you will tell you you should be at this point by this age and have this and this and this and this and this. And life is not one size fits all. I'm sorry to say, that's not how this works. We are all evolving as individuals. This may feel for you like a second chance at life. I mean, we do have here, you know, joy, enjoyment, life force, vitality with the sun. You may have felt for a long time you've been in the darkness, and maybe you felt as though you had been condemned to it. Perhaps you thought the sun would never rise. And really, perhaps what's been going on is that you've been a seed in the ground, and you are now making your way through the soil to bloom. And there may be a plethora, because that is the word I'm getting, a plethora of new possibilities that come before you when you pop through the soil, right? Incredible. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay, thank you. Yep, thank you. Bottom of the deck is Lemurian seed codes, embracing sensitivity, uniqueness, living with grace. Very interesting how there's the energy of being gentle with yourself. And then again, we have this living with grace. Yeah, I love as well the uniqueness coming through, because here's the thing. I feel like for a long time, society at large has been this kind of follow me type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, cookie cutter, one size fits all, let's all do the same thing and be little robots type of vibe. And I feel like we're coming out of that. So each person with their unique voice is probably going to be seen as that, like, outsider, right? But here's the thing, like, being the outsider at this point is like the new cool. Okay. You know, and as we are moving through this Pluto and Aquarius energy over the next 20-ish years, that's a vibe. The way that I see that is all being on the same lake, but being in your own boat, right? So we're all moving in the same direction. We're all meant to be here for each other, but we're meant to be doing it as a unique individual, right? Like, I see you over there in your boat, right on, do your thing. Okay. But the whole point is to be uniquely you. The whole point is to individuate. So with this Lemurian seed codes, this uniqueness, I feel like it really is encouraging you to embrace that about yourself. Not to fear it, not to run from it, not to try to suppress it or hide it, but to embrace it. Because what I feel like is going to be so deeply needed and craved even is authenticity, is individuality, is uniqueness. And you can see this already unfolding, okay, with the rise of AI created posts, with the rise of AI created writings and art, and you know, the list goes on and on and on. I feel like what's really going to be sought out is being a unique human being and moving from that space. Again, not being seduced and giving away your power to technology, giving away your power to AI, being seduced by AI, allowing it to essentially become you, draining you of your will, of your life force. Okay, so we have here third eye activation, brow chakra, inner vision, clear seeing. This feels like a message of, please don't lose hope. Please don't lose hope. Have faith. Trust the process. Please don't lose hope. Have faith. Trust the process, right? Your vision will become clear. You will gain clarity. The sun will rise again. The clouds will break. The haze will dissipate. Just trust the process. Go inward. If you cannot see it with your physical eyes, look for it with your third eye. Look for it inwardly. That is where you are going to find it. And I feel as though moving forward, that is going to be the case more often than not. Okay, so really opening yourself up to your intuition, opening yourself up to that inner compass within you, and allowing it, trusting it to lead you, even when you can't see clearly. Notice how even on the picture here in the center of the card, how it looks like the sun is coming through the clouds. It's just further confirmation. We also have Seraphim's Gateway, voice activation, angelic attunement, divine support. The seraphim are the first in the hierarchy of angels. They are the spirits of love. And so this feels like it's coming through to let you know that you are not alone. You're never alone. That you are always supported. You are deeply, deeply loved. And again, there's something about this that speaks to being uniquely you, right? We have this voice activation here. So there does seem to be throughout the collective this throat chakra clearing going on, this throat chakra activation, right? Where we are being encouraged to speak truth, express truth, to be authentic, right? And I just feel like this is speaking to not hiding from that, but loving it, embracing it, attuning to it. There's also an energy here of opening up to that divine support. I feel like you may be someone who has really had to rely on yourself, who has had to be there for yourself, who may even struggle to ask God for help, to ask the angels for help, to ask for support. You may be someone who has really just, had to show up for yourself again and again and again and hasn't really had anyone in your corner supporting you. And this is saying, hey, you don't have to carry all of this. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek support. And maybe you struggle trusting your fellow men or women to offer that support to you or to provide it for you. Maybe you've opened up to people around you and have found that they've betrayed your confidence or have in some way used that against you. But it does feel as though that moving forward, you may be receiving support in very unexpected ways from very unexpected sources. And there's an energy of being open to that. Let God be the judge. If you open up to support from someone else and you're betrayed or hurt in some way, let God sort that out. They're the ones who are going to have to face the consequences of behaving in that way, of making those choices. So there's a message here of being open and receptive to divine support without fearing someone taking advantage of you or someone using it against you or someone saying, oh, because you need support, you're not worthy, or something like that, because there is an element of that coming through here. There is an element of, I can't ask for help, or I must do this on my own. And perhaps I'm getting, this could be something that stemmed from your childhood. Okay, perhaps someone told you that they're not going to help you. Maybe that started from a young age, and maybe you've been carrying that with you for some time, right? I'm actually hearing what sounds maybe like a father figure or something like that, a male figure coming through as like, you're going to learn how to do this on your own. You're going to do it on your own. I'm not going to help you, type of thing. Like, you're going to take responsibility for this. It feels like there's something that may have happened where you were required to do it on your own, or perhaps there was a lack of that support, as I said. But this feels like the closing of that. This feels like perhaps moving more into a feminine energy where you are receptive to support and you allow that to come through for you, right? It feels like balancing that masculine, that shadow masculine with this more divine feminine energy, okay? Okay. How might this transformation be showing up, please? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. Bottom of the deck is the Prince in the reverse or shadow attribute position, using power for self-aggrandizement. This could be something that you have grown through, you've evolved out of. But what feels more true is that you may have felt as though you've been surrounded by this type of individual. Interesting, right? Because we talked about the Emperor earlier, and here we have the Prince, which of course is, several notches below the Emperor. And it feels like you may have grown from being, the Prince into more of the Emperor type. Again, there's this level of forgiveness here. Forgive yourself for when you maybe were using power in this way, where you were kind of stroking your own ego, right? But it does feel like you could potentially now feel as though you're like the Emperor in a room of princes who don't know you're the Emperor. Does that make sense? When you look out at the collective, there is no shortage of egoism and narcissism. Okay, it is not in short supply. And so it feels like, as I shared earlier, the Emperor is this very kind of controlled, divine, masculine energy, right? It knows when to celebrate, knows when to mourn, knows when to take action, or knows when to stand still. It's not going to be this energy of force. It's also this energy of acknowledging the well-being of others, the safety, security of others, of protecting that, right? Whereas with the Prince, it's giving me this very kind of snobbish, it's all about me, it's the me show type of energy. There is a sense of entitlement, and I just feel as though you may feel as though you're surrounded by these types of individuals, and it's really about navigating that with a level head. It's about navigating that with a sense of authority, with a sense of control, and not allowing it to sway you, not allowing it to get under your skin type of thing, right? Not allowing that to pollute what you've worked so hard for. Not stooping to that level. What's very interesting about this is the way it's coming through with this entitlement. It feels very materialistic. It feels very literalist. This could be someone in your experience who maybe they throw around a lot of money. Maybe they feel like they're owed something. Maybe they look down upon others. Maybe they gossip a lot. You know, maybe it really does give this very icky kind of feeling. One's ego is very inflated and they feel like the world owes them something, or they feel as though everyone should just kind of like bow down at their feet and give them whatever they want or do whatever they want. I'm actually seeing this image of, you know, someone kind of like, let's go. Maybe you experienced that in your childhood. Maybe you didn't feel as though you had any sovereignty over your own being. Maybe you had parents who were very demanding, or a guardian or someone in your life who was very much like, you're going to do what I say when I say it or else. Or this could be someone or maybe many individuals in your experience that move in this way currently. And there is this feeling of rising above that. There is a feeling of not stooping to that level. There is a feeling of, again, maintaining that sovereignty over yourself versus allowing this person to dominate you because they feel like they can. Again, it's like being an emperor in a room full of princes who don't realize you're the emperor, who don't realize you can see through the ego, you can see through the mask. Okay, we have here in the reverse or shadow attribute position as well. It says pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. Again, it's giving me similar vibes to the prince, right? It's reminding me of, for example, okay, there's a difference between what is taught in dogmatic religion with regard to Christianity and what is taught in esoteric Christianity. You know, it's a completely different vibe. And you can have someone, let's say, who, you know, maybe attends church and reads the Bible very literally, telling you these are the rules. Again, there's this, you know, no, there's this pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. And it does feel like someone telling you how to live your life. It does feel like someone assuming that they know something, whether that's about you, about your experiences, about where you should be, you know, fill in the blank. It really does feel like there is this claws out kind of energy around anyone who is trying to hold sovereignty over themselves, with anyone trying to be the authority over their own evolution, over their own life. It does feel like someone trying to rope you in. That was the energy coming through with the prince as well, right? Not stooping to that level, not letting them get under your skin, not letting it get the best of you type of thing. It does feel like that with this energy as well, right? With someone like really trying to undermine the work you've done because they don't understand it from a much deeper space. They're very superficial, right? You get what I'm saying here? That is how this feels. And I feel as though these people are going to stand out like neon signs for anyone who has done as much work as I've picked up on through these messages. It's like you can pick up on that superficial entitlement a mile away. It's just a matter of not letting them get to you. Not letting them deter you. Not giving them power over you. Because I feel like if they're not already, they're going to try. This does feel like a part of that book that is being closed, that karmic book that's being closed. And it does feel like these things, and it does feel like trying to keep the hooks in, right? It does feel like trying to like rope you back in type of thing. We also have here the Messiah and the scribe, both in the upright or light attribute position, with the Messiah serving humanity with humility. Very different vibe from the prince or the dilettante in the shadow. Very different vibe from the previous two cards. And from the scribe, preserving knowledge and information. What's interesting about this energy is I do feel like there's going to be this rise in those who want to be of service to humanity, who are very led by this desire to be of service to humanity and to preserve truth. Okay, especially as we've spoken about several times now, with this seduction of AI, everything. I mean, for goodness sakes, you know, it's like anytime I'm on X, for example, and I'm reading through someone's post and I hop in the comments, there's a comment like asking AI to define something, or asking AI if something is true, or, you know, asking, I mean, it's there's so much reliance on AI for so many things. Again, many people giving their will away. And so with this Messiah energy and this scribe energy, I truly feel that there's this rise of people wanting to be of service to humanity by preserving truth and authenticity, being a real human being with a beating heart, not being someone who's essentially been overtaken by AI and machines and technology, right? But an authentic person showing up in the world, caring for other people, being of service to other people, you know, trying to share truth and spread truth. Because we have the Messiah card here, it does feel like there could be more and more people who are seeking true Christ out, who want to know the truth, who again are hungry and thirsty for it. You know, what I'm getting here with the Messiah and the scribe is like Christ saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The truth and knowledge written in the Bible. I know that the Bible is not what it once was, but that does not mean that there is not truth there for those who have the eyes to see and ears to hear, okay, who can take the Bible for something far more than just a literal text. We also have the Hermit in the light attribute or upright position, seeks solitude to focus intently on inner life, serves personal creativity. What's interesting about this is that there's this similar energy, right, with the codes of the seeds being underground and the second bloom, right? You are likely someone who has been in a bit of a hermit mode. That's not to say that you have, you know, not seen any other human beings, but it does feel like either by choice or by circumstance, you have experienced being alone. really being encouraged, really being in a position to go inwardly, to sit with yourself, especially when it comes to healing. I feel like you're probably somebody who has had to learn how to sit with and navigate your emotions. Certainly when it comes to whatever emotions you were not able to experience previously. Okay, so things that were repressed or suppressed, things that you'd buried, things that you'd ignored, things that were pushed aside, again, that you didn't have the ability to experience before. It definitely feels like you could be someone who has had to learn how to sit with those things, has had to let them rise up within you, has had to give yourself the space, the opportunity to experience them, to feel them, to not be afraid of them. And this likely stems from something you've experienced previously where you were not allowed or didn't feel like it was safe enough for you to do that. And so it's essentially providing yourself with that space. It's during this time that I feel like your relationship with humanity, the world, has likely shifted. Your relationship with truth has likely shifted as well. It does feel like having this time of solitude has positioned you to decide, to discern what is true for you and what isn't. So there could have been a lot of shedding of what you once believed to be true, but no longer do. And that could have been very difficult. You know, I've said in many other videos that learning the truth is not the hard part. The hard part is coming face to face with the lie. And so, you know, that could have been quite the experience for you. And it, again, maybe during this time of solitude that you've really been focused on that, or that has been something that has been kind of at the forefront, right? Is shedding these lies. And that could be about experiences. It could be about yourself. It could be about the world. Again, anything that you believed to be true, but no longer feel is true. You could have had a lot of things revealed to you during this time as well. And it doesn't feel as though that this necessarily, it doesn't feel as though this has necessarily been revealed to you in an external way, but rather through internal processes, rather through sitting with yourself and going inward, maybe through meditation and journaling, things like this. Again, very interesting when we consider what I just said with regard to this energy here of pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess, because as truth is revealed, you know, there comes this realization where it's like, holy crap, I don't actually know as much as I thought I did. Even though you may have felt like you were in the dark, even though you may have felt very secluded, very isolated, maybe you even felt abandoned. It's like being in that fertile soil, right? It's like, this is what has given you the time to truly soak up all of that nourishment. And when you do finally kind of come up through the soil, when you finally bloom, you're emerging a new being. You're emerging something else, right? You're emerging with this knowledge, this information, this perspective that you didn't have before. Thus, you're going to be moving much differently in the world. So where to go from here? Where to go from here, please? Okay. Thank you. Like that. That's too many. We'll take that one. Let's see. What do we got? Okay, we're just right. Bottom of the deck is the Fool in the reverse. I've just heard, don't jump too soon. Don't jump too soon. Now that can mean a couple of different things, okay? There is an energy here of feeling like something's not getting off the ground and abandoning it, right? Jumping ship too soon, you know, feeling like, oh, there's this energy of, oh, what if the ship sinks, you know, without even knowing if there's a leak type of thing. So there is an energy of not jumping ship too soon with that, or in that regard. But then there's also an energy of not jumping at an opportunity too soon, of sitting with things, not being afraid of taking your time to make decisions, right? Going inward, taking it within yourself, meditating on it, praying about it, journaling on it, whatever it may be. You know, it's not just taking the first opportunity that presents itself just because it's there, or not taking an opportunity simply because it's there, but rather sitting with it. Is this in alignment with who I am at present? Is this the direction I want to be going? Does this feel right to me? I feel like that's going to be really important moving forward, because it does feel like there could be a lot of glitter pretending to be gold, if that makes sense. Okay, so it's kind of like not being fooled just because something is shiny or something looks really good, you know? All right, so we have the Chariot, number 7 in the reverse. This is an energy of taking your time. Okay, the Chariot can be this fast-paced kind of energy, or fast-moving energy. And this feels more like taking it slow, as I was just speaking on. Not jumping into something too quickly, but having more control. And not being solely driven by ambition. There's something about that as well. Because I feel like that could be one of those things that maybe looks like it's paying off in the short term, but long term actually doesn't pay off. Right? It's kind of, it's giving me this vibe of like poor investment. Five of Wands. Yeah, there's this energy here of, you know, kind of going back and forth within oneself, within the mind. It almost feels like this, you know, push and pull between the former self and the new self, or the current self, right? It feels like this push and pull between your former self and current self, and really trying to navigate things from that perspective without getting kind of pulled back into any conflicting energies. I mean, fives are freedom, they're change, but there's that energy of conflict as well. And it does feel like this energy of almost like training, of being fairly novice or new to something and having to give yourself the ability to navigate it, right? Or to give yourself the grace required to navigate this new experience, this beginning. And to not give up simply because things don't seem to flow with ease. Eight of Swords in the reverse, there's that freedom energy coming up, right? Freeing yourself from the old stories. Again, like I was just saying, it is that energy of not letting the past kind of cling too tightly. Or it is that energy of not letting past stories, past experiences guide you, control you. Yeah, not being led by past stories, past experiences, but freeing yourself from them. And then Six of Wands, of course, is success. It's this energy of reward. You know, what feels like it isn't moving, what feels so hard to what feels challenging to navigate, ultimately leads to this liberation and recognition. So the way that this is coming through, right, the Six of Wands can be public recognition. It's like coming home from war with its spoils. That's what the Six of Wands can represent. The way that may be showing up for you could look something like being in the trenches, you know, of your inner world, having warred with yourself and having overcome that, or having freed yourself, having liberated yourself from these things that were creating this internal battle. You know, it's again, it's like emerging victorious. It's emerging a new being. It is being seen differently as well. So the way that you show up in the world and the way that you move in the world could get you this public recognition, or you could be seen by others in a very different light. Okay? Maybe the people around you are very unhappy. Maybe they're very stressed. Maybe they are freaking out. Maybe they're living in fear. And maybe you are not having the same experience. You know, maybe life feels fulfilling to you. Maybe you're finding joy in things that others cannot. Maybe you feel more relaxed. Maybe you are more allowing in what is unfolding than others, right? Because this doesn't feel like getting some kind of reward in a very materialistic sense. You know, it doesn't feel like being given a trophy or something, but it does feel like the way that people perceive you is a lot different. It does feel like feeling rewarded in a way that is beyond the physical, is much deeper than just some superficial, than just some, you know, trophy in a glass case type of thing. And the Empress. Hello, beautiful. I love this so much because, you know, we started off talking about the Emperor, and here we have that counterpart, the divine feminine counterpart showing up, which is that more receptive, more allowing, more surrendered. And not only do we have the counterpart, but the Empress is fertile. Okay? She's creating something that perhaps has not yet been created. Again, there's this energy of nourishing, right? So we have this energy, you know, with letting things come to fruition, giving things time to grow, allowing things to rise up within you, trusting that things will arrive in their due time, in their season. The Empress is fertile. You know, in this card, she's pregnant, right? So the seed has already been fertilized. It's just waiting for the arrival. And, you know, it can be during that waiting that we can kind of get tripped up, that we can be very much in our flesh, if you will, very much in our head, very much like very impatient. But everything arrives in its due time. Everything arrives at the appropriate time. And this is what that's giving, right? Again, the Fool says, you know, don't jump too soon, whether that's jumping ship or jumping into something, right? But trusting that things will arrive at the right time. That, you know, for example, you know, not abandoning something before its time has come. Again, the seed has already been fertilized. It's just waiting for the arrival now. So trust that things are unfolding. Trust that whatever's rising up for you will appear when it's appropriate for you, right? Divine timing. God is never late. And don't sell yourself short by abandoning what God has begun within you. There's something within you that is waiting to be born, waiting to be created, waiting to be brought forth. Trust that your season will come. Let's get some final messages, please. Thank you. Thank you. Bottom of the deck is the number 33, water. 𝐻𝒂𝒃. The number 33 could be significant for you. That could be your age. You could be seeing repeating threes. I mean, we do have the Empress as well. The way that this is coming through is flowing, trusting your intuition, right? Water is the sign of intuition. It is the sign of psychic knowing. It is giving me very much this moon kind of energy as well, right? So there's this energy of flowing with your intuition, flowing, allowing. Water is more feminine. It feels like the challenge for you is to be like water. I feel like there's like a Bruce Lee quote or something about water. But it does feel like the challenge is to be like water, is to flow, is to surrender, is to be more allowing. Again, very feminine. To trust your intuition and your psychic senses. We have here green Tara with salvation, the number 18. Again, okay. Let's see what else we have. We have Benzai 10 with beauty, the number 6. I've just heard there's beauty in the waiting. You just have to look for it. And Artemis with focus, the number 4. You could be seeing repeating 4s as well, as we had the Emperor earlier. 6s. With Artemis, there's an energy of focusing on. It's so interesting because it's a lot of times you hear, more about kind of focusing on the goal. But the way that I'm seeing this is actually kind of focusing on the path that the arrow would take versus the target. Does that make sense? So this feels like, taking it one step at a time and seeing the beauty in the unfolding, seeing the beauty in the path, not rushing the growth. I'm just going to grab the guidebook here and read to you about green Tara. It says, the divine has intended you into being and given you the assignment to explore life through certain perceived limitations. You are meant to learn about life and all its complexities, especially learning about how to be in community with others. Green Tara, a Tibetan goddess, also known as she who saves, says that you will never be alone in life's journey. This compassionate savior goddess of intimate friendship will ensure that the right people will show up for you at the right time. Green Tara reminds you that your needs will always be met. You don't need to know the how, as that is her domain. You just need to trust, and the goddess Green Tara will use her magic on your behalf. You are safe and secure, and always in care of the divine. Right, again, so it's that energy of not really focusing on point A to point B, in the sense that let me figure out how I'm going to arrive at the destination. How am I going to hit the target? But enjoying the process in between. I hope that makes sense. Right? It really does feel very much like seeing the beauty in the unfolding, seeing the beauty in the journey, seeing the beauty in the path that the arrow will travel, and focusing on that. With Artemis, there's this energy of keeping your aim true. So it's very interesting because, yes, the point is to see the beauty in the journey, see the beauty in the unfolding, but also to not be so incredibly caught up in whatever's going on around you that you forget to look up, to make sure that you're still moving in the direction you intended. So it's about balance, I feel like. You know, you don't want to be so much in the feminine that you're not moving at all. There's no action. But you don't want to be so much in the masculine that you're going with no direction, to just take action for the sake of taking action, doing a lot but accomplishing nothing. You know, you don't want to be doing that either. I feel like Green Tara reminds you why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of people get into spiritual growth and evolution and raising their consciousness from a place of, you know, wanting to kind of save themselves, to want to find solutions to whatever pain they're experiencing. You know, it's very much about the self, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, by the way, but the more one evolves, the more aligned one becomes with truth, the more often it seems that this desire to be of service to humanity appears. You know, it's not just about rescuing yourself, but it's about going back in and getting others, wanting to help others find their way out as well. And I do feel like ultimately the goal with each of us, whether aware of it or not, is to become the 10th order in the hierarchy of angels, which are spirits of brotherly love and freedom. Right? There's this energy of salvation, which is bringing me to the Christ, of course. And so there's something about that you may want to meditate on, journal about, open yourself up to, and perhaps explore. So before we close this out, I just want to leave you with another proverb. This actually was on a tea bag of mine. And it says, plant kindness and gather love. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. But I just found it to be quite fascinating. So I want to thank you so very much for joining me. It has been such a joy to be here with you. I pray that something here has been helpful for you, useful or valuable for you in some way, shape, or form, and provides some kind of confirmation or clarity for your journey. Take care of your blooming, growing, evolving, beautiful soul. Peace be with you and within you, and I hope to see you in another chat. Bye.